All right, so hopefully I am live. Okay, everyone, welcome back to another episode of Mysteries After Dark. I am your host, Jerry. Yay! So there's a lot of weird stuff going on right now. Um, I guess we just launched a new propulsion or a rocket with some new propulsion drive system, and we had that capsule come back from the space rock. No concerns, nothing to worry about there. And on the bright side, for those of us in the Midwest, it's been a pretty mild opener to the winter. It's not actually winter yet, but usually, I mean, my birthday's coming up, and usually by now we have snow. But I'm not mad about that. I am completely okay with it. If I had my way, I would be a snowbird. I would relocate to somewhere that it does not snow for about 4 months out of the year. So, all right, well, it, yeah, let's say a few of my last episodes, they've been somewhat apocalyptic, and I would love to be here tonight with an episode about unicorns and rainbows, but maybe next time. And, I'm going through my notes, and, as I was preparing everything for this episode there's so many things I really do not know where to start. Maybe we should start with a creepy one first and then work our way down from there. So, being an amateur astronomer, I do think it's kind of cool to talk about a comet with horns. Yes, a comet with horns. So it's so this comet, it is ejecting two plumes, and it's giving it the appearance of some, devilish creature. And to make it even better, they've nicknamed this celestial horror show the Devil Comet. But hey, nothing to see here. No worries. We're all good. Let's not make any biblical references. Anybody familiar with wormwood? No. There is that prophecy about a celestial body hitting Earth so hard that it causes massive destruction. And this devil comet is about twice the size of Mount Everest, meaning that this object is twice the size of the asteroid that wiped out the dinosaurs. If this thing were to hit us, virtually every species on land would be eradicated. Not a good thing, but don't worry. Do not be concerned. NASA says it's going to miss Earth, and they never get anything wrong. Well, actually, there is a list of things, but let not your heart be troubled. Oh, no big deal. Now, if this was the only visitor to our little blue marble in 2024, then no big deal, right? Hey, just one passerby. Well, we're going to have another interesting light appearing in the sky, supposedly, and they are calling this the Comet of the Century. It will be making an appearance from July until November 2024, with the brightest day predicted to be September 27th, and will most likely outshine every star in the sky. And I'm pretty excited for that. I would love to see it. Now, this comet, this, comet of the century, will be about a tenth the distance of the, devil comet, but it should stay far enough away not to cause an issue. We've been told that before, and then we've had some pretty interesting things like Chelyabinsk, the little chunk of rock blowing up in the sky, because a lot of times these things drag stragglers along with them. So even if they do not hit us, we could still have some interesting explosions in the skies. Just saying. But, 2024, really, it's regardless of what happens, guys, it's going to be wild because, well, it's an election year. People, People will once again be at each other's throats. Yes, civility will go right out the windows. Isn't it great? Husbands and wives bickering, family feuds, and, best friends no longer speaking to each other, all over, hey, my guy is better than your guy. Jesus. And you know what? Maybe it is time for a new candidate. Hear me out on this. Are you ready? The sweet asteroid of death. No more arguing. No more red versus blue. We're better than you, whatever. Just, the sweet silence. Well, after an unimaginably loud explosion, but still, it will get quiet real fast. And hey, all I'm saying is just think about it for a minute. That's all. But in 2024, we have, about a dozen near-Earth objects that will be passing us by. And some of these little visitors, they're large enough to pose a serious problem, a serious risk if they were to impact our little planet here. And some of those rocks are going to be very close to Mother Earth. I'm just saying, when I think about all of the events going on, some that, has already come to pass in the last, few years, and those that are being predicted, the things yet to come, Christmas future. Look, I'm not saying I believe in biblical prophecies or anything like that. I'm just saying things are looking weird. That's all. And, I have looked into this a little bit in the past. The same thing with Nostradamus, things like this, the predictions from, ancient times. Well, Nostradamus wouldn't fall into that category. But regardless, did you know he was married to a witch? A self-proclaimed witch that predicted the end of the world was going to occur like in the 1800s. But I don't know. It's interesting though, isn't it? I mean, even if you don't believe in God or any of the religious aspects of it, the prophetic issues, it's fascinating. So, and I'm not trying to turn this into a Sunday school seminary or trying to preach. Hold on, I got it. Thank you, brothers and sisters, for joining me, Pastor Jerry, as we once again delve into the sacred scripture and the word of God. God, I missed my calling. Oh, I could be like that one guy that makes a whole bunch of money. I'm talking about that television preacher guy. Okay, I'm just saying I see some correlations. A few correlations, that's all. What was it? 2014, the Euphrates River really did dry up because, they cut the water flow temporarily, but late 2022, water levels did drop to historically low rates or levels, and archaeologists were having a field day. It seems they discovered, caves and remnants of some ancient civilizations over there. That was kind of fascinating. I know I can't be the only one that thinks we are perhaps on the precipice of war breaking out, something that could potentially spread globally. What's going on in the Middle East right now will not stay in the Middle East. This isn't like, Las Vegas. What happens there stays there. And now with Turkey getting involved, who, by the way, happens to be a NATO ally, what happens if Israel strikes them? Even though it's never been, so picture this. Turkey attacks Israel. What do you think is going to happen? It's never been, publicly disclosed or admitted to, but we know that Israel has nuclear weaponry. And if they launch those weapons, wouldn't that radiation make the waters bitter? Would it not kill a large portion of the people? I'm just saying, I might have read something about this in a book that was written a long time ago. That's all. And as far as the weather, this book, it does talk about how things are going to get, really bad. And if any of you have been paying attention to the media for, I don't know, the last year, I'm pretty sure we've already had, that kind of happen. We had the wildfires that claimed countless lives. I know we usually only talk about the ones in America, but those outbreaks, that was a global issue. We had unprecedented amounts of wildfires break out across the entire planet, guys. And it didn't stop there. We recently witnessed massive flooding that has taken many lives. Again, we're speaking globally. And, I'm just wondering what comes next. How about super volcanoes erupting across the world? Oh, Yellowstone. No, that would be horrible. Nobody wants that. That would be horrible. But about that, it seems like every 5 years they come out with a new statement of some sort of, geological activity occurring at the Yellowstone supervolcano. But then we are quickly assured, hey, nothing's happening. There's nothing to see here. The odds of eruption today are only 1 in 700,000. Well, that's better odds than hitting the lottery, yet, every day we have tens of millions of people standing in line to buy a ticket. I mean, I do it myself. And on average, 3 people a month hit the lottery. I actually looked this up. I didn't realize that many people every month become a millionaire. So when you think about those odds, what they're telling us, it becomes a little bit less reassuring, doesn't it? And I guess at least in a small way, we did have a plague that traveled the world and killed almost 7 million people across the planet. And don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to be apocalyptic. And in no way do I hope, that the world ends in the near future. I want to be alive and well when the aliens really do land on the White House lawn. But they did do a flyover. That's a real thing. If you do not know, it was 1952. They call it the DC UFO incident. DC UFO incident. I guess today they probably call it the DC UAP incident because that's the new terminology. But yeah, the White House went on high alert. People were taken to safety. Well, the important people, not the peasants. And but yeah, that was back July 12th, 1952. The military, if you don't know, the military began picking up radar blips and then scrambled jet fighters. Yes, for the young folks out there, we did have jets back then. That's not a new thing. I know you think we were in horses and buggies back in the 50s, but we scrambled jet fighters to go and chase, these unknown intruders into our airspace. And when our jets did pursue them, right, when they went up to get these things, these craft took off at 7,000 miles an hour, just gone. Now, the excuse they gave us was, are you ready? Temperature inversions causing artificial signatures on the radar. And hey, I guess that's a good explanation. But if we're going to accept that answer, then we have to ignore, I don't know, a couple hundred eyewitness reports, police reports, including that of an Air Force captain who said he saw this orb in the sky and tried to catch up to this craft, but it quickly flew away at speeds far faster than what his jet was capable of. So yeah, nothing to see here then, right? Yep. Okay, we're good. Just temperature, weather, things. Yep, that's all. Have you all ever seen that movie? It's titled Knowing. It's called something, Knowing. It starred Nicolas Cage, and it was really well done. There was this girl, I'm keeping it real short, real basic. If you haven't seen it, watch it. But there was this girl who scribbled something down 40 years in the past, and kids nowadays are hearing these voices talking to them, and there's this, I don't know, I guess you would say energetic alien creature, but in many ways it resembles biblical angels. And they can also take the form of humans, of course. And what they were doing is they were gathering up children. They would whisper or whatever the kids could hear it, the parents couldn't. The chosen ones could hear the voices. But they were gathering up the children and certain children, I guess, and different life forms from the earth and taking it to another world where they would survive the upcoming planetary apocalypse. And I thought it was kind of cool that the world they took the kids to it kind of looked like the Garden of Eden. So I have no doubts that there are or were, religious undertones throughout the course of that movie. But it was pretty interesting. And I don't know. I'm not saying that this was a form of, predictive programming or anything like that. I just find it interesting that in this movie, what destroyed life on Earth was a massive coronal ejection. Basically, the largest solar flare that has ever occurred. And it stripped Earth's atmosphere. So keeping that in mind, I think it would be a really good time to mention what recently came out about our sun. Now, when I say recently, this was on Halloween, so pretty darn recent. As we know, our sun, cycles between a solar maximum and a solar minimum. And that cycle is approximately 11 years in duration. So we get, 11 years with a calm and happy sun. And then we get 11 years with an angry, violent sun. So back in 2019, they predicted that the solar maximum would occur in the middle of 2025 and that it wouldn't be very bad at all. It's going to be very mild. You don't need a lot of sunscreen. You're fine. And this, hey, it's a really good thing for us, right? Mainly because, are you familiar with the Carrington event or not? Have you heard of this, the Carrington event? It was back on September 1st, 1859, back when there really were horses and buggies, kids. An astronomer in England named Carrington was observing the sun as he would, usually do, and he would sketch sunspots and he would document what's occurring on the surface of our star. And so what happens, he's sitting there, he's looking at the sun, and he was suddenly blinded by a massive white light. And this is a telltale sign of a CME, coronal mass ejection. But this one was unprecedented. Usually when a CME occurs, it takes, a few days for it to reach Earth. But this one hit us in 17.6 hours, so about 17 and a half hours. And when it struck, it wreaked havoc. Now, excuse me. When people say 1859, most folks think, they had no technology back then. Amish paradise, Weird Al Yankovic. Excuse me. People, they think, there was no electrical equipment or anything, but that's incorrect. By 1959, the telegraph was very prominent. We had wires running all across the country so that people could, quickly relay messages to one another in Morse code. So that was before the phone, obviously. So once this, solar flare, we'll call it the CME, once it hit, the sparks began to fly, both metaphorically and literally. Telegraph machines and their wires, the telegraph wires, erupted into flames. Massive sparks showered cities and rooms. If you were unfortunate enough to have one of these machines in your house was probably going to catch on fire. And we did have some buildings being burnt to the ground. And those unfortunate enough to be close to those machines or those wires when this event occurred, they got a pretty good shock. They were electrocuted. They were burned. And if this event were, to play out in today's society, it would be pure chaos. Now, what I'm about to say is not me speculating. This isn't Jerry. This is from scientists. This is from those that would know, our betters. But we would have satellites falling from the sky, and unfortunately, some of those satellites contain radioactive material as a power source, and it would cause contamination on a global scale. GPS, the thing that you use to find your way around a new city or just find your way around, it's gone. You would no longer have Apple or Google Maps. There would immediately be a run on food and water, but getting to the store could be a problem for most of us. You see, the electronics within our vehicles would be severely damaged, and in many cases, they would be inoperable. This is when you break out the old riding lawnmower. Hey, I'm telling you what, it'll work. Anything that's a pull start, you're good to go. Our power lines that provide us with electricity that powers air conditioning and heating and freezers and refrigerators, they will quickly be destroyed, and the lights will truly go out. Civilization, at least within, advanced, I guess we'll say advanced countries, it will collapse. People, your neighbors, will group themselves into tribes, so to speak, and they will go house to house seeking the necessities of life. Keep in mind, humans are very tribalistic. When catastrophes occur, people do break up into groups. They do form groups. And yes, Diane chimed in. Let's see here. We're going to have... So I got one comment here. I heard we're going to have a lot of NEOs next year. That's near-Earth objects. Yes, you are correct. And then Diane says again, I still own paper maps, and that's a very good thing. Learn orienteering, everyone. Get a compass. Well, unless the magnetic poles switch. Oh, no, never mind. So you might be thinking to yourself, Jerry, what does this have to do with tonight's episode? Okay. The answer to that is a lot. It has a lot to do with tonight's episode. Let me read a little clip from an article to you real fast, if I may bore you for just a brief moment. And here's what it says. I'm going to verbatim. The sun will reach the peak of its current activity cycle in 2024, 1 year earlier than previous estimates, according to experts at NOAA's Space Weather Prediction Center. And it's supposed to be far more volatile than originally predicted. Sounds nice. So whenever something like this comes out, the scientific community, they reassure us that everything is going to be just fine. Regardless of the size of the solar storm, they tell us that Earth's magnetic field will be able to handle it. Yes, it might compact a little bit. It might get pushed around. But at the end of the day, hey, we're all going to be okay. And when they say this, it does offer some comfort, doesn't it? It puts your mind at ease a little bit. But you need to keep this in mind. What they are referring to is that the Earth will not be sanitized. The sun will not have some sort of an event that will annihilate all Earth on life, but the quality of life, well, that can definitely be altered. So here's the reality of the situation. If a solar storm took away our technology, it wouldn't be like living in the 1800s. It's not as simple as, hey, we can go back to a horse and buggy and everything will be fine. The vast majority of, let's say, civilized people, they do not know how to prepare food for the winter. Many people do not understand what it is like to chop wood so that you can keep your homes from freezing. They don't know how to tend to a fireplace. Most people, they don't know how to can foods or prepare foods that will sustain them through winter. But actually not just winter, but also the first couple months of spring until vegetation is, once again available. Most people, they don't understand the intricacies of hunting for food. And many of those that do, they do not have the skills to utilize a bow or arrow. And then those that do bow hunt, how many of them can make those items? How many can whittle down a chunk of hickory and turn it into a bow, or to make their own arrows? I'm willing to bet not many. Now you can say, but Jerry, there's lots of people that know how to fish. And yes, fishing is very simple. I love to go fishing. I'm just saying. But with modernized equipment, it's simple. Many people know how to use a hook and a fishing pole and a bobber and put the worm on and cast it out. That's easy. But those same people probably do not know how to get through the ice on top of a frozen lake without using an auger. There's a lot of people that know how to fish using primitive equipment. Well, not a lot, but in America, there's not a lot. In some of the other countries, there are. But those that do know how to use equipment such as throw nets, things that can, be readily made, we don't have a lot of people here that can do it. America's going to lose a lot of people if this happens, man. And even if you do know how to make that, I mean, yes, you can still utilize a throw net after you bust through the ice on a frozen lake, but good luck. Do you understand? You have to drop the net through that hole. You got to bust out a larger chunk of area. You got to let that net sit on the bottom for quite a while and then rip it up, and hopefully you catch something on its way up. You're going to make a lot of draws where you're not getting anything. And, I know I've mentioned this on a past episode, and I'm going to tell you that people that I know, I tell them all the time, get books that teach you how to survive. You can go online right now and order survival books that will teach you how to can food, how to make salt pork, how to preserve meats that will last without refrigeration. Look up how to make beef jerky. There you go. You can get books on medicinal herbs, ones that'll show you what wild vegetation is safe to eat and what to avoid, because if you eat the wrong thing, you're going to have a real problem. And while I'm at it, everybody should have a pantry with enough canned food that can sustain each person in that house for no less than 3 months. And they'll say, a minimum, 2,000 calories a day, 2,000 calories a day. You need more than that. Just saying. I'll be honest, flour and canned tuna in oil works great if you need it, and like baby formula. If you have that, you can live a long time, and it's not going to be a great life. Your meals are not going to be pleasant, but it will keep you alive. So, science, back to what I was talking about here before I went off my tangent. Science tells us that our star, it's not going to, burn us alive. But they all agree on one thing. If we have a star within approximately 65 light years, and it decides to, go out with a bang, there is a very high probability that it will eradicate the majority of life on this planet. And now they are postulating that the great mass extinction, which took place 359 million years ago, was actually caused by just such an event. Doesn't that make you feel good? But hey, they assure us we don't have any candidates close enough to cause such an issue anymore. So everyone can take a deep breath. Everything is going to be fine, right? Well, there's some interesting hypothesis being tossed around right now about what exactly occurred approximately 6,000 years ago. There was some type of an event, and there are those who say there's evidence that it was caused by our sun, that it scorched the earth, that the light became too much for those living above ground to tolerate, and this is what caused the mass evacuation of cities, giving rise to the underground labyrinths. So many awesome stories, folklore, and tales from antiquity about the labyrinths. I need to do an episode about that. Oh, it'd be so fun. Anyway, I always find it fascinating that these facts never get their deserved attention. What exactly was so horrific? What catastrophe was occurring on the surface of this planet that compelled humans to rapidly begin the construction of underground cities? So, they're telling us, this is what they tell us, the scientists, as long as the Earth's magnetic field stays strong and healthy, us Earthlings have nothing to worry about. So I got to wonder what happened 6,000 years ago. Maybe something cut out on us there. Maybe we might have lost something. But hey, nothing to worry about because it's going to stay strong and healthy. And about that, oh, this is like a doomsday episode. About that, let me read a little bit of this article to you. Are you ready? Earth's inner core appears to have stopped spinning faster than its mantle. New measurements suggest that the rotation of the inner core has slowed in recent decades and is now about to reverse direction, spinning more slowly than the mantle. The finding helps to explain recent changes in Earth's magnetic field and the length of day. The Earth is slowing, just so you know. The Earth's solid inner core is contained within the liquid outer core, enabling it to rotate differently from the Earth itself, which we already know. Its spin is driven by the magnetic field generated in the outer core and balanced by gravitational effects within the Earth's mantle. Yeah, we're good. So they tell us this event could very well dramatically decrease our protection from the solar winds. And I don't know about you, but I'm a little worried about that one. That's an issue. That might be what happened 6,000 years ago, where people suddenly needed to get the heck off the surface and make these underground cities. But hey, it keeps getting better. Let me read another snippet real fast. The time intervals between reversals have fluctuated wildly, but average about 300,000 years, with the last one taking place about 7,800 years ago. During a pole reversal, this I'm quoting here, the magnetic field weakens, but it doesn't completely disappear. Okay. So if we do some quick math, 300,000, 780,000, 4, 5, 6, 7. So what? We're 480? Yeah. We're about 480,000 years overdue for a magnetic pole reversal. And when that happens, according to them, we are definitely going to lose some of the protection from our magnetic field. But hey, they say it's not going to completely disappear, so, maybe we'll be okay, right? We'll be fine. But they do tell us that this weakened state of protection, it could persist for about 20,000 years. Y'all want to worry about the ice caps melting? If that's a concern for you, this is when it's going to happen. I'm just saying. That's when it's really good. Because right now people talk about it, but, some of this ice has melted, but then, the ice over here has gotten thicker. It really does ebb and flow, and it remains somewhat consistent despite what you might hear. But if this event happens, that's when you'll have an issue. And you're going to see water levels rise by about, maybe 100 feet. If it melted, that's about where, despite what they tell you, I've actually dug into this pretty hard on a past episode. 100 feet, it's going to be crappy, but you're not going to have water coming into the Midwest. You're going to lose a few miles of coastal line, except for, New Orleans, because they actually built that city beneath the ocean. Like, it's lower than the Gulf of Mexico. Why would you do that? Like, that makes no sense to me. But anyway, that's a story for another topic. So, you know what? I think I am I think I'm going to end this episode right here. And I could keep going on like the crier in the streets screaming, "The end is nigh. The end is nigh." That's my best British accent. We are, I don't know, we are crossing into some worry sometimes, but it's also fascinating. And if we survive all this, if we come out on the other side, the technology that's unfolding right now, God, we have so many things that we're starting to come up on, cures for cancer that was just announced and everything else. So many things that can better our lives. The rebirth of our desire to reach new worlds. Finally, it's been, refueled, and now we're seriously looking at going to Mars, setting up a colony. Sorry, Neil deGrasse Tyson, I know you think it's a horrible idea. I grew up watching Star Trek. I'm pretty sure you did too, man. You want to be on the Enterprise. Quit it. Back us up in this. Tell Elon Musk he's doing the right thing. So, and Diane China, yes, it was supposed to happen in 2010 or 2012. It never did. Yeah, and Y2K, don't forget that disaster that never happened. But I don't know. All in all, I think we have a lot of things to be excited about. Just, minus the devil comet, the comet of the century, the solar winds, the CME, the active evil sun, the pole reversal, the weakening of the magnetic field. Did I forget anything? I hope not. Okay, that's it. I would like to thank each and every one of you for tuning in to another episode of The Apocalyptic Ending is Near. No, thank you everyone for tuning in to another episode of Mysteries After Dark. I've been your host, Jerry. It has been fun. Until next time, stay safe. Goodbye.